Welcome to Three Devs and a Maybe, the podcast series for beginner web developers and general web enthusiasts. Now, introducing your show hosts, Michael Budd, Fraser Hart, Lewis Keynes, and Ed Mann.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Three Devs and a Maybe podcast with myself in the blue corner, Lewis Keynes. I am a website developer, have been for about 3 years. Blimey, that's gone quick. And in the red corner, with an impressive record of, 0 infinity loops in his whole career, Ed, the player man.
Plenty of infinity loops, mate. Plenty of wild trees, pretty much. Hello, sir.
Hello. Are we on our own, are we?
I think we are on our own today. This is going to be an interesting one, the red and blue corners. Talking about red and blue corners, actually, I just came back from... Dave's got Connect. We're living in the past now. Connect, on the Xbox 360.
Oh my god, that's where it detects your movement.
It does.
Stuff.
It's pretty
cool,
scarily
actually.
good at it as well. It's not as good as like the PS4 or like the XBone, but it is pretty insane. Like we've got it hooked up in the living room downstairs, and I've just come back from playing like some like pretty much like sport games, so I'm exhausted. Boxing on it is pretty interesting. It turns out Amy's very good at boxing, which scares me. So I'm not going to mess with her.
She's quite good at most sports in a weird way.
She is. She's just naturally gifted at kicking people's backsides. So yeah, the red and blue corner.
To the golf course. I don't need that then in my pride.
Actually, that will show your domain. Well, there is a golf game on the Connect as well. Not quite sure how it works. Yeah, so maybe next time you come around, we'll have to play red and blue corners.
I'll be interested to see if I can putt on that because my putting is dreadful. Anyway, I actually got. I'm not ashamed to admit this on a podcast that is downloaded by literally millions.
The millions of people at home who do not download this.
Yeah, hi, no one. How many downloads are we at? Have you looked recently?
I haven't got a clue.
Are we doing all right? No?
I don't do it for the downloads. If one person listens to it and likes it, then awesome.
Exactly. And as usual, my mum says she loves it.
Got this is it. You see, exactly. So it's a way of it's a way of like saying hi to your mum. Hi mum.
Exactly. Funny enough, speaking of playing computer games, I've been doing a little bit of gaming this weekend, and I'm not a gamer at all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Check me out. No, we've been away to Windsor, where we obviously went a few weeks back when we went to the races, and had a very messy weekend. But we've been at my brother and sister-in-law's, and they've got a little one, Mikey. I say little, and he's 13 now, and probably taller than me, as most people are.
That is kind of scary. And I suppose you've obviously you've known him since he was a little wee lad, so it's kind of growing up and
exactly. And I'm suffering to this evening with what can only be described as wee shoulder. I think it's quite painful. I didn't even know this existed. He's got a Wii U. Have you heard of the Wii U?
Yeah. How is it? Is it good? Is it better than the Wii?
It's really good. Yeah, well, I think so because it has this like pad thing that's got a screen on it, and whoever's got the pad can watch it on their screen as well as on the main TV. So you can have like a split screen kind of.
I think Fraser's got one. Like Mario Kart. I really want Mario Kart 8. That's why I would get a Wii U for.
Oh, for me, you can't beat the original Mario Kart on the SNES. That's for me.
See, for me, it was N64. Mario Kart 64 was my go to, and then GoldenEye obviously on the N64.
Yeah,
I love it. It's so good.
I switched off after Mario Kart SNES. Once they tried to improve on that, which I didn't, keep it as it. I'm joking, but yeah. Anyway, we played this Mario game. Well, first of all, I can't even remember what the first game was. It was like a fighting game where I had a sword and I had to kill people.
Okay,
so
pretty standard.
Waving my arms around like a mentalist.
It's pretty much like a day in the office, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. And after about 4 or 5 swipes, I mean, obviously, I was killing everyone left, right, and centre. As you do.
It's like finding those bugs and taking them down. Boom.
Exactly, but it done half out your shoulder, and I've got a bit of forearm pain as well. So, these games they're fun, but they're not good for you.
Yeah, exercise not good for you guys. Like, just stick to the computer, sit in there with like a high energy drink, and just typing away. That's what Three Devs and a Maybe recommend. Exactly.
Do you still get much exercise? Did you go out on your lunch breaks and stuff?
Not as much as I want. I think this month has been Dry January. I think.
Yes.
And I think the next thing in store will be probably either get the gym membership or just trying to work out time in the day to do some exercise, like maybe even walking around at lunchtime again. It's really hard because of the timing. Like, I get back so late, and by that time, then I want to eat and go to sleep, and yeah, it's a bit of a pain. So I think lunch, like, oh, that's all right. Amy's here now.
Oh, wow.
Hi.
Come join us.
There you go, Amy. We were just talking about...
Hello. How are you?
How are you?
We have Amy live on the podcast.
Yeah, and we were just talking about the Xbox. You kicking people's butts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just won at baseball.
Really? See? She's kicking people's butts.
Christ
Look
alive.
at that. That's how you do it. But yeah, so what were we talking about again?
Hit pause while we were trying to remember what we were talking about. This could be embarrassing. Oh, yes, walking, exercise.
Yeah. So trying to find it throughout the day and stuff. So, we'll see how it goes. And stuff, and we will, even maybe at the weekends, will probably be the time.
I suppose the problem being in London is there's, where do you go?
Well, I mean, actually, there's quite a lot.
Unless you want to walk around.
It's just the timing, really, that's a bit off. But, I mean, yeah, it'll be fine. Anyway, enough about me. How about you, sir?
How about me? What do you want to know?
I want to know how your week was.
How was my week? My week wasn't too bad, I think. Isn't it weird how a week can just go by and you think, what did I actually do in that week? And you can't remember any of it.
I reckon you probably coded and did some programming. And you may have sat next to and facing a computer screen. Yes,
I did. Every single day, funnily enough.
Well, there you go. I am like a psychic.
My days they're quite fun at the moment. I'm going into work I get there about 7:15. I get an early train because I decided to I'm better off trying to do tutorials and stuff when I'm at work rather than at home, because obviously you're in that kind of mode.
Yeah.
More so. And I've been trying to do these Photoshop tutorials.
Oh, yeah?
I think I mentioned it last week. Yeah, they're going really, really well. I really enjoy them. I wish the guy that was tutorial series on it actually did covered loads more things, because he's really good and makes things really clear and stuff.
Really?
So I'm doing all these.
So is he a graphic designer then at heart? Then the guy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm doing all these funky things with boxes, and I'm loving it. Photoshop is so cool.
Your graphic design. I never thought.
Well, just learning little bits and bobs and stuff. I don't think it does any harm to.
Oh no, not
to try and have a bit of a visual eye on.
And I mean, things. Especially if even if you don't apply it and actually use it, it's good to know what's possible and how kind of feasible for in the designer role. Like what a designer can do, because they're very much similar to what us. They know, if they know a bit about HTML and CSS and stuff like that and code, they know what's possible at our end. It's vice versa, ditto almost. I
think in particularly in the web game, the more strings to your bow that you can have, the better. Whether it's front end, back end, frameworks, technologies, anything. The more strings to the bow, and I just find Photoshop really fun to use. I think that's
cool, man. Because I really just enjoy coding. That's my thing. Designing to me is kind of I try it and I barely dabble. Kind of get through it, and I really just
Have you used Photoshop much?
I used to use it a bit, but now actually at work, Will, the designer, he's very much into Sketch, which is a Mac-only app, but it's pretty cool actually, especially for web stuff. Sketch. It's paid for, but it's only £80 compared to obviously Photoshop's ridiculous pricing. But it's a really good application actually. And actually today I was using it because my me and Amy were in the morning. She will rub it in that she actually did design the better logo, but we were helping design my dad's logo for his company, and
she's just better than all of us at everything.
She's just better at everything than me. That's
you had to point out a weakness.
The weakness is being the best. I think it's we'll leave programming alone, and I won't let her try that in case she's better than me at that, because I want one thing.
She's probably a .NET developer on the side or something.
Absolutely. .NET.
So our colleagues then, they've been out for a run today, I gather.
They have. They've done a half marathon up in London. Congratulations.
Well, no, they've only done, as one of Mike's very supportive friends pointed out, they only did 12.8 miles, which isn't quite a half marathon.
Oh, come on.
So if he's using Strava, which he obviously is, and he sees 12.8 miles, why didn't they just go around the block again?
What was so hang on, so it's 27 miles to
26, I believe.
26.
I don't know what it is exactly. Is it 26 on the dot? Possibly.
So they need 13 something maybe.
Yeah, and they only got up to 12.8.
Slackers. That's all I can say.
But I have to say they did it in 2 hours, and I thought that wasn't too bad when I saw they.
I'm kind of jealous. I do. It really has kind of made me think I really need to get back into exercising like that.
Well, I told you that twice a week I'm walking straight running home from Tunbridge to Tunbridge Wells.
Yeah, that's impressive. Where do you go then?
I go up Gravel Hill, which is anyone who lives around the Kent area has been to Tunbridge. You know Gravel Hill, the one that goes up to the...
Oh, yeah, actually, maybe I do. Yeah.
A21 Southborough Road.
You do that way. Wow.
I'm literally on my knees by the time I get to the top of there, and then it's all quite flat. And
that's awesome, man.
Upwards. But it's 4.5 miles, and
that's good.
I'm getting into the system of doing a bit walking, a bit running, and trying to do it on a bit of a interval training, I think they call it. And it's supposed to be quite an effective way of training, rather than just going at one continual speed the whole time. But my best so far in doing that was on Monday last week. I did it in 58 minutes, which I thought was quite a good time. But when I see today they've obviously run 12 miles, which is nearly 3 times that in 2 hours, I realise I've got to up my game.
At least you're doing something, I mean,
probably find out that they stop for a cup of coffee halfway round as well. Or Fraser's just a...
He is like a Greek god at this stuff.
He seems to defy most rules. So
at work, what are you working on at the moment?
Again, most of the week I've been working on this CMS that I've been building. I guess we could go into that a bit more tonight. That's because it's been an interesting project. I know I've decided to continue working.
Yeah, because so are you still looking into Symfony and?
Yeah, I've been doing some more tutorials on it today. Actually, funnily enough,
you enjoying it still?
Yeah. I think it's amazing. I really do. I didn't even realise there's the app console doctrine generate CRUD thing on the command
all the
line.
doctrine stuff and.
You could actually do quite a lot in Symfony without even writing any code. It's quite frightening. It's good. How much of it are you using at work? Are you using all those commands, or are you just kind of working on existing?
You do use. I mean, like I tend not to. I kind of not use the commands, just like copy and paste like template code that we already have, like the bundles. Kind of have a structure, and typically.
Sorry, go on.
I would say, like, typically now what we do is we kind of not the in thing now, and a good thing actually is to kind of make your code framework agnostic. Yeah. So it's not tied to that framework.
Yeah.
So what we typically do is we have this idea of like packages that are outside of the framework that have their own composer files and everything like that. So they're their own things.
Packages that you guys have made yourself.
Yeah, like internal packages. And then what we do is we have like a bridge that kind of, so we have the package. And we have this bridge that then actually bridges the gap between the infrastructure, which is Symfony. So we have like maybe a bit of glue code that allows Symfony to then use this package, but the actual logic of the package is in that package. So
how are they written? Are they written following
they're
code?
Written, they're written just PSR4. They're like packages you get off Packagist, really, but they're specific to the company.
Yeah.
And we bridge it with we have like bundles that are shared, because the app that we use, the apps that we have are an admin and a marketplace split up into 2 separate Symfony apps, and we have shared bridges or bundles that are shared between the 2 of them. Then they have their own separate ones. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I think that's a really good way of doing it, because kind of one nice way that I kind of learned was to not even think of the framework at all when you're building these things. Just don't even use the framework structure. That's what Uncle Bob, Robert Martin, he doesn't want to, when he looks into a bit of code, like looks into a code base, he doesn't want to know that it's a Rails app. Like, you can know it's a Rails app, it's a Symfony app. He should want to see the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, the solving the problem that you have. Not, if he just sees all this kind of glue that is just, the infrastructure, it kind of messes it up, So having your domain, your logic for that, you can look at these packages and you can just see, okay, this is solving that problem. And, it does have nice separation of concerns. That's solving the problem in an agnostic way. And then that, you've got a bridge in the Symfony where you actually then, interact with it. And it kind of has that separation. They have their own tests, they have their own unit tests, they can be tested and separated out and used as they want on their own.
Yeah.
But at the moment, delivery mechanism is Symfony. And we use, glue code for that, bridge code for that to, hook it into Symfony. So I really enjoy that way of doing it.
I quite like that philosophy as well of not knowing or not even thinking about what kind of the backing code is.
Not even think about what framework you're using. Because
do you think this is a risk that a lot of developers that get shoehorned into being certain kind of
this is the trouble.
framework.
Well, I think this is the thing everyone thinks about frameworks. They all think of having frameworks, being like checklists. It's like, because you see it on CVs and stuff. Like, I do this framework, this framework, this framework, this framework. It's like, well, it doesn't really matter what framework you use. Like, as long as you can solve the problem and then hook it into, I think that's the thing. Like, it's not the framework. It's
you still got to make the website.
You've got to solve the problem.
Make
It's solving the problem
yeah.
that you have, and you don't need to think about the delivery mechanism while you're doing that. You can just think of the core domain and what you're trying to solve. So, one of the things that Kayvan did when we first did our first project, when I started working here, was we actually just brought down a clean repo that was just a base composer. We've got test folder, source folder. We didn't do anything with Symfony. We didn't touch any of the main code base, and we just made this package on the machine. Just doing it test-driven development, TDD style, and it was great. And it was like, whoa, we're not even looking at Symfony, and then we hooked it into Symfony, and it worked fine. And it's now got this package that we doesn't need to rely on Symfony. It doesn't have the complexity of having to be Symfony bound, which is awesome, because it actually does make things more confusing if you think about the framework at that time as well.
It's nice to know that you can use it and then just do kind of whatever you want yourself within that.
And you can show someone, and they can see just your problem. They can just see your problem, not the problem of solving a web framework as well, because that's what Symfony does.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
on a big project like sort of the way you work then with your company, it's a big building company, isn't it? It builds a big, not a building company. Sorry, you maintain a
large, tradesman base.
Yeah, so how does the whole Symfony framework tie into that then? What kind of bundles do you have, and what kind of packages have you? How is the code base all kind of broken up, and how does it work?
You go into you've got because Symfony's very good with kind of allowing you to structure it the way you want. And you've got so we have two applications in there, two separate. We've got our main folder, and then we've got two separate application folders, which are their own Symfony 2 applications in their own right. And then inside there we've got the bundles, and we have different bundles for different things, and we've got so we have the bundles folder that then has the bridges, which are kind of the glue in between our packages and the code for actually delivery.
Yeah,
and that's about it. Really, I mean, it really is quite a simple Symfony build. Like, there is nothing special about it as such, and there shouldn't really be, because it's just kind of a delivery. It is just a delivery mechanism. The way that Symfony, the way that we get a response, is by the request object in Symfony, and we pass that into our packages, and they handle it, in the way that they want to handle it. They don't know anything about Symfony. They don't need to. We can pass just standard data structures, or DTOs, data transfer objects, if we need to, that are to do with the package itself. But yeah, it really is. You don't need to convolute the two problems, which I really enjoy. I really like the idea of not overcomplicating and convoluting those two things. They're separate problems that you can solve at different times.
So what kind of specific things are you working on at the moment?
At the moment, I am working on some updates to our feedback system. Which is quite fun, and so I've been doing that this week at work, and that's going pretty well. And in my own time, I've actually been playing around with more JavaScript stuff.
Okay.
So looking into the whole React stuff that I spoke about last week, and kind of really getting into JavaScript stuff again. I found a really good. It was paid for, but it's a really good course online. It's called Functional JavaScript, and it's a front-end master's course. And it's very, very good.
Where was this through, sorry?
This is a paid for front-end masters. I'll send you the
front-end masters, okay.
Yeah, it's very good. But it's like proper hardcore functional programming. Talking about the Mamie monad. Well, talking about functors, like category theory, functors, maybe...
functors?
A functor. Functor is a category. Well, it's a category. It's a type of object that really can be has this method called fmap, which allows it to be mapped over. It's like a container. I can't explain it exactly. I'm sort of learning kind of how to express it, because then a monad. So a functor is something that allows you to you map over it, meaning you run a function over it, and it then stores it back in the same container.
Okay.
But then a monad over the same container, but monad, but Jesus. It replaces it. The function returns a whole new monad instead of being able to wrap. So you only contain.
Is that an acronym for something, or
no?
Or is there a
Monads,
reason they called it that,
monads, functors, applicative functors, monoids. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Just sounds like what should we call this? Monad.
It's
Monad,
very, but it's so awesome, like being able to compose this. And this course gets you into currying, composition, partial application, and stuff like that. So really awesome. And so I've been kind of learning that. And one way I've been experimenting with that is through JSBin. You've got like JS Fiddle and stuff like that. And there's like a CSS. Can't remember the one that Chris Coyer does. Can't remember, CodePen or something like that.
It might be CodePen.
CodePen, CodePen, I think. And then like JSBin seems to be the one that I feel was the best. It's so awesome. You're able to.
I think I found that it debugs for you as well, doesn't it?
It does have like linting and debugging, but it also has the ability to like use not only JavaScript, but you can do stuff like CoffeeScript, like the preprocessor, things like that you're able to bundle in. Well, able to like run it through preprocessors like the 6.5 processor. So Chrome at the moment doesn't allow for ES6 classes, which is a bit annoying. So when I'm playing around, because I was playing around with these monoids and stuff, I wanted to use ES6, all the cool new stuff that you can have. And so what you do is you can run it through like 6.5, which is like a project that allows you to switch between or convert the code from ES6 code to compatible ES5 code, which is pretty cool. And it pretty much sports the whole standard of ES6, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, JSBin does it out of the box, pretty awesome. And it's so much fun being able to just say, I want to work on something. Okay, just load up this page, and start coding away. And you can just hack away on it. So really fun stuff. I'm really enjoying that.
JavaScript's probably one of those languages that whether you're front end, back end, whatever, you kind of need to get your head around it, don't you?
It's the web assembly, isn't it? It really is. Like the amount of one thing I wanted to do a blog post on the amount of, or maybe even just a podcast on all the different preprocessors that process, transform from a certain code start, code to JavaScript. I mean, there's insane amount. ClojureScript, TypeScript, PureScript, CoffeeScript. It's crazy. It really is insane how many processes. And they all go down to JavaScript because JavaScript's the one that's the default de facto on the web.
So is this because no one wants to write raw JavaScript?
That
kind of
abstractions.
It's quite horrible, isn't it?
There's the good parts, isn't there? Like Douglas Crockford said, but ES6 is going a long way to make it better on its own.
So digress a minute. When you're talking about ES6 and ES5, you touched on this last week. So what are ES6 and ES5?
So these are the standards. So 2009, ES5 came out, which is the ECMAScript Standard 5.
When you say standards, are you in the PHP world? Are these like the PSR2s and that kind of standard-based thing?
So it's a bit different in the JavaScript world because we've got PHP, which doesn't actually have a code. So the implementation really is the code standard. Mm-hmm. In languages like Python, you have the code standard saying this is what Python code looks like, this is how to interpret it and stuff. But then you have different implementations of the compilers or the interpreters themselves. So they're split off. Like in Python, you have the code standard, and then you have like stuff like CPython, IronPython, and all these different implementations of the Python, interpreter and how they run it, which is cool because you get competition in this space and you get a standard in this space. PHP is kind of melded together where you have the code and the standard is one thing because there's only one implementation of it. They're hoping to break out and have their own standard of this is what PHP is, make your own version, make your own interpreter on it. So JavaScript's very similar where JavaScript's actually ECMAScript. This is ECMAScript 5, which had a standard, which had a lot of new cool things in 2009, and then they've been able to, and it'll be happening, I think, mid this year, 2015, we'll get ECMAScript 6 as a standard. That will take a while to get into the browsers fully, but we have different implementations of the JavaScript runtime. So you have V8, which is Google's one, which Node uses. You have things like JagerMonkey, I think it's still called now, which is which is awesome, just JagerMonkey.
The naming of things in web never fails to amaze me.
Awesome, which is Firefox's one. I think you have Titran, I think that's the way it's called, or something funky in IE. And they all have their own benefits and cons, they all work for speed, they're all trying to, push the boundaries and stuff like that. And So they also work in slightly different ways, I think, but they all conform to the standard that is ECMAScript 5 or 6. So you know that you can use these things and you know that these are going to work throughout each different runtime, each different interpreter.
Oh, okay, that's quite interesting. I may have to investigate. My JavaScript's not too bad. When I say JavaScript, I write mainly. I use jQuery, not raw JavaScript. I use bits and bobs, but it is something that I really enjoy using. I think it's amazing.
You should honestly just crack open JSBin and start playing around. Just making just fictitious apps and this weird stuff, like thinking, oh, okay, I just playing around with currying and playing around with composition through JavaScript, because I was because when I was playing around with this JavaScript course initially, I was like, oh, it's okay. I'll just, because I'm very, loyal to PHP, and obviously I think there's a niche in PHP. I can write a blog post in PHP, and it kind of is different because other languages have, already taken advantage, kind of explored these things. But then I started playing around, with doing these things in PHP, and they look messy. Functional programming in PHP is not that pretty, and so's invocation of you can't. One thing I would wish PHP could do, and there was ages ago an RFC for it, it was to be able to, and it's a really simple thing to do, Python can do it, JavaScript can do it, is say that you've got a function that takes an argument that returns another function which takes an argument.
Right.
In PHP, you could only invoke, so you call the first function and it returns another function, but you can't automatically then have two curly brackets, so you can't have it so, argument 1 and then also argument 2 straight after it. I can't remember, I don't know what the technical term is. You can't do that, so you have to have an intermediary variable that stores it, which is a bit of a pain. It gets on my nerves a bit, because especially with composition and stuff like that, it's so much nicer to be able to do these things. And currying is just awesome, the ability to the idea of currying is currying in its official definitive term is the idea, say you've got a function that takes 2 arguments, like the add function, A and B. So it has an arity, which is just how many parameters it has, how many arguments it takes, of 2. So it's got an arity of 2. What it does is it just splits that function into an arity of 1, and it just returns another function that takes the next argument. And Haskell does this so really you can partially apply or eat any function. So add 1 and 2 will now actually be add 1, and you could keep that as its own function. So that add 1 would be an incrementer function, because if you pass it another number, it will add 1 to it. So it's very cool. It's such a different manner of and a way of thinking. In these small functions that do certain things, and then you compose them together, and this whole point-free programming and Haskell, and so having a lot of fun with that. And JavaScript's a great playground for it, because things like TypeScript, which is from I don't know if it's from Microsoft, but they have a very large backing, and it actually provides a type system in JavaScript, which is pretty cool, and you've got generics and stuff. So I'm hoping to do a blog post on functors and maybe monads and stuff with all this funky stuff, and TypeScript and JavaScript and CoffeeScript and all this stuff. But
I feel like you've won on the tutorial front this week. I've just been doing a bit of Photoshop.
Well, no, hey, Photoshop's its own different beast. I've given up. I gave up a long time ago trying to be it's not me.
It's interesting. We all go down different paths with it, don't we?
Well, it's cool because I think you really want to be kind of an all round, and I think that's really good and really valuable, because you need to be I think in the web thing, especially if you want to become freelance web designer or web developer, you need to. I remember you saying that you had when you did your projects, you had a couple of freelance projects, and you kind of sent out used a couple of designers. And didn't go the best in some cases.
Had a couple of bad experiences.
And for your business, for actually yourself, unless you're going to have a full-on designer as well, and you kind of work together and pair, it's good for you to be able to do these type of things and to think that way. I suppose the thing is thinking design-wise and thinking program-wise, though they're both kind of, they're both beautiful in their art in their own ways. I find it very hard to kind of think, kind of design something that's beautiful than code something that may be beautiful, if that makes any sense.
It's quite weird because I sometimes think like some of these 100% devoted back-end developers, do they ever actually kind of see the website as that they're working on, or do they just they're constantly looking at the code, the individual bit that they're working on? And I like to see the whole website. I like to build the whole thing. I mean, our jobs work very differently, don't they? I'm kind of building smaller websites and taking them through from start to finish, doing all the front end, doing everything, and you're working as part of a massive project within a team of dedicated developers all on this one thing, and it's very different. I mean, it's cool. I'd like to do both, but I can't help but like doing the whole thing as well, and taking a website and making it from start to finish. A website like yours will never be finished, will it?
No, it's a kind of constant. Because it's a web service, and it's this constant web application that constantly changes. We actually joke sometimes saying, "Oh yeah, we've just finished the website now. We're off now. The development team's done.
Everyone's done.
We shipped it. That's it. It's over."
But how does that? I mean, do you guys have like a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, year action plan?
Oh yeah, we've got a massive roadmap of what things we want to do. I know you're thinking like, it's like, is there always something to do? There's always something to do.
Oh yeah, there must be. Even if it's just refactoring.
And the thing is like, I actually prefer this environment than the whole start to finish. I think for me, the responsibility of doing it all is great, because some people, like as you say, like you like seeing the whole finished project as well. I kind of like working with other people and then seeing it and being like, we did it together. I mean, I suppose it's similar actually, but as you say, like it's never actually your one main, you did all of it, which I can see has been quite nice. Could be like, yeah, I did that.
Interesting. I mean, I
did that one little bit, if that makes sense. Like I did that tiny that bit there. Yeah, I did that bit.
I've never collaborated with anyone on any website that I've ever made, so it's something that I'd love to do. I really would love to do, but I guess because it's all I've ever known, so you've kind of experienced both sides of the fence.
Well, this is why we need to, think of a project. Like updating the 3 devs and a maybe website, maybe,
What could we do with that?
I don't know, we could do something with it. We could just write it in a different language, like write it in JavaScript, write it, like it's fun, like having to play with a different language, and especially something
I was about to embark on a Node.js course that I bought, I said about the Udemy things that I said, but literally the day before I was like, right, I'm going to start doing the Node tomorrow. I got an email saying, this whole course is outdated now. I'm in the process of making a new one.
Oh, so solid. Thanks, man.
Once that's available, it'll be ready. Node is the thing that I really want to get my teeth into.
Well, Node's just JavaScript, man. I mean, if you learn JavaScript, you'll learn Node. It's got its API, and stuff like that, and yeah. Hey, one thing I learned this week, actually, one new thing that's come out is a new version of Audio Hijack, the lovely program that's recording this podcast today.
Does the job well, doesn't it?
It does. Audio Hijack 3. And it looks pretty spiffy, actually. But I'm just... at the moment, I didn't have a chance today to experience it, have a little look at it. But the user interface looks pretty damn nice. It's
quite a cool piece of kit in it. But I quite like GarageBand. I think it's...
Garage
Band. Sorry.
But I think just Garage. I suppose that's what Mickey used to use, isn't it, actually, to record? He used to...
No, he was Garage Band because he's a northerner.
Garage Band?
Garage Band, Touching Glass.
Touching Glass is gonna be in gospel singing. I don't know what I'm talking about. So it's a really nice bit of kit, and I Audio Hijack Pro. Well, it's called Audio Hijack now. It's not called Audio Hijack Pro. So they've taken the Pro off, which I don't know. Marketing time. You're like, hang on, so it's not Pro anymore. People might think, but. No, it's really awesome. I suppose the thing is if you call it Audio Hijack Pro, you expect a standard version.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because I think we've only ever come to that because like the Windows XP Pro and the Windows XP Home Edition. Do you remember that? Windows XP Home Edition, Windows XP Professional, and then you had like all these SKUs for when it was Windows Vista where it had like bajillion, and you had Ultimate Edition. Good old solid Windows.
I don't use Windows anymore at all.
I don't know if I'm happy. You must be so happy.
Sometimes.
Come on. It's so good not to have to use that, surely.
It is. I definitely prefer using the Mac. I have to say. It is better, but I used Windows for so long, and it's just so nice not having things crash and stuff. I think that makes the...
Well, and I just feel the app... I mean, this is, goes into a little bit of a Apple fanboy thing, but the apps on and just the Unix underpinnings and the apps on Mac are so nice and so much nicer. They feel like they've been cared for a lot more. I mean, like Audio Hijack just looks lovely. The new one, the current one I'm using looks brilliant. Sketch is awesome, and yeah, I can't go wrong. I mean,
I saw an article in the week, or I saw a headline for an article. Perhaps I should have clicked it, saying something about Microsoft is going to ditch Internet Explorer.
Yeah,
did you see or hear anything?
I was like, about that. I still haven't read up on that. So maybe we'll have to postpone till next week for that bit. Or maybe if you want to quickly have a little look in, we can. Because
it can't be right because we have only just had Christmas, so it can't be happening again.
Yeah,
all over
surely
and over.
they need to wait, until it's a lovely holiday season to give this great gift.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about gifts, actually. So GitHub gists or gists or whatever they are.
And are they just kind of?
They're
is
just
it a
code
bit like
snippets.
a forum?
They're pretty much just code snippets. People, I do it, just dump code snippets on there, and I found
but people also post comments on there and kind of interact using the gifs as well.
They do, like sometimes when it's like, I need to show an example, and they just make a gist of it instead, or gist of it. But I found them to be a really valuable learning resource as well. Especially like for all the JavaScript stuff. Like I can go to Google and I type in, say, like maybe monad JavaScript gist, and I'll find a load of examples that people have just posted and then playing around doing that concept, and I'll find better ones than I can find on blogs and stuff. So yeah, just append gist onto the end of your Google search sometimes and see if you can find a better one there. I
don't use GitHub enough. I use Bitbucket.
Yeah, how you enjoy it, because Bitbucket has that brilliant thing of being the private repos. The private repos win out, don't they?
But pardon me, that's exactly why I used it, because I use it to store all the company code, and so I can work between home and there and stuff, and obviously have it all in a remote location. And because it's not personal stuff, it's company stuff, so you don't want things to be in there that can be accessible by the public. Stuff.
I mean, surely they would fund for a lovely GitHub, GitHub Pro
I guess they probably
account,
would, but
why
would they need to though? When Bitbucket does the
Bitbucket
job,
does it. I mean, so what is Bitbucket's thing then? That deal. So how do
it
they
works
get
exactly
money?
the same.
How do they get money? That's like,
God
is it?
knows.
I think that's like, maybe I think it's to do. Isn't it to do with like how many people can collaborate on the project and stuff? Which for you actually works really well.
It's not an issue because I'm the only one that uses it. I mean, I have invited a couple of other people into the repos from time to time,
so they
such as the other company we occasionally work alongside. But no,
they use JSBin, don't they? Still,
yeah, they do actually. But that's a whole other story. But I was quite intrigued to see. I think Laravel have changed the way they're handling their environments these days. They ignoring the environment files rather than actually like detecting stuff with inside like a development folder and whatever else. Like such as the conventional, or I saw a Laravel tutorial the other day where
cool.
So to obviously keep the files that might have things like database credentials away from being on GitHub.
It's kind of scary. Like I so what was it like the podcast that I spoke about probably a couple of weeks ago? It was Git Master, I think it was. And I listened to a podcast on there, and it was to do with rebasing and changing history, and the idea that so say if you do accidentally push up to GitHub or a public repository passwords, because it's kind of scary now actually that people are crawling, like there are bots out there crawling repos, GitHub repos and all these repos, like public code sharing repos for passwords, because it's a really easy way to do. If someone actually does it quickly. So first thing, if you ever did do it, change your password immediately. On pretty much all things, you should have a random password for everything, but anything that uses that password, then you've got to change them all. Secondly, the thing you want to do to try to remove that from history is by using Git rebase, and like rewriting history. And I can't remember what the actual program was, but he had a really cool, Git like Guardian, the website like Guardian, online Guardian. When they released their code for public, to show like, hey, here's an open source project, they rebased the whole code and they changed like the commits, and obviously if there's profanity in the commits, we want to remove that, and if there's like the people who committed it, their username, like their email address, they want to switch it to the GitHub email addresses that are usernames and stuff like that. Ones that are referenced by GitHub. And they also are able to, like, you know, say, actually, you know, I don't want that file to be included, you know, and it will, like, go through and it will replay the whole history. So the way they do it is, the way rebasing works is, it goes back to the, you know, the furthest commit that doesn't need a change, and it will actually go through and redo the commits, you know, set in the way and order you want it to do. Maybe you'll search, because you can also do git field. Oh, what is it called? There's a function in Git that allows you to actually run a command on every commit that you do. So you could run like a bash script that says, go through these commits and run this command or run this script, and this script then searches for any password file, you know, any password that you may have typed in, and says, you know, remove it, don't put it in, and it will actually replay all those commits again, and obviously by abiding by this filter, you know, saying, okay, yeah, you don't want that anymore, and it will just do that. And I'll put it in the show notes because I'm probably not giving it a good enough service, but it's amazing.
No, I think I'm with you on what you mean there. So you mean by the time they obviously realise, oh yeah, we don't really want to be displaying all these passwords, they've obviously got it stored in their history.
They've got it in their history, and then
so they've got to think about everything.
Yeah. They've got. They've got it in their history. They've also got it. They've got, you know, people's private email addresses, your company email addresses they don't want. So what they do is they rebase it, clean it up. I mean, how I work typically now is, you know, having these feature branches, you know, pull request branches, and I do a ton of commits, all very small, specific commits that allow me then to, once I want to, you know, rebase it, roll it all up into a nice clean commit history. Boom, you're done. Ship it off, and it looks like I've just done it in a couple of steps where it may have taken me ages. I should
probably look at doing that. I mean, I just commit after commit.
Well, I mean,
again, I'm the only one that's working with it, so I know.
That's it, and it depends on how you want to work, like the working history you want, because in the case of like the book that I'm reviewing, the DDD and PHP book for Kayvan and his friends, is that they just push to master, because with LeanPub, you know, they want to give the latest and greatest to people every time they can. So like I did a bit of a review this weekend, and you push it just straight to master, which feels weird to me now because I'm so used to making a pull request and then it get merged in. But they just want it to be rolling, you know. So the Git history for master is a bit messy. Like, you know, it says like fixed diddle-a-dir, unfixed diddle-a-dir, you know, this kind of, you know, very much. But it's the way that project wants to be worked, you know, and the fact that they want, you know, master to be the greatest that's on currently going. So it all depends on your workflow.
I still love to see how these big teams actually work use a Git workflow, and how it all works with all. Well, I mean, merging in left, right, and
things like Facebook.
It sounds so fiddly.
Well, things like Facebook, the way that they've done. I mean, you can go down a couple of routes, can't you? You can kind of have separate GitHub repository, not GitHub, they're Git repositories. You know, separate repositories for each individual section, you know, each subsection of the site, and then you have like a major one that pulls them all in and merges them together for it to be deployed. Facebook actually just has one repo. Right. One repo, because it's so much easier. Like, before I got to this company, that they started doing subtree splits, which is this idea of being able to, you know, merge them into one and split them off into their own, you know, Git repos and stuff. And the issue is that what happens if you want a commit that touches not only this repo, but stuff on that repo? You then have to make two commits, you know, one there, and you have to be very careful that they both have to go in at the same time and stuff. So having this just have one repository. One big repository, and you work on it, and you can touch any files that you need to touch, you know, and everything. And I suppose there's a lot of trust in that, you know, you're touching the files, you know, you're not going to get these massive merge conflicts. But it's such a better way of working.
Yes, the merge conflicts. There must be. Have you had to deal with many of those?
Quite a few. I mean, a couple of them have been weird. Like, you get a couple of ones like, what's wrong with that? And then you're looking like, oh, there's that tiny little change there or something. And my one of my pet that hates, and it's a pet hate. I say it's a pet hate. It's what I do, which I hate. Is that a pet hate that I hate is that I sometimes accidentally. So you get a merge conflict. And you look in the file and you're like, oh, yeah, fix that merge conflict. You know, delete, like, you know, you get the head. This is what this looks like. That's what that looked like. Choose one, resolve it. Yeah, that's great. And then you push it. And then you commit it. And you look at you look through the commit again, just thinking, oh, let's have a quick look, you know, what I did. And you realise, sugar. I've committed a Git a merge conflict, which is both versions of it. And you then have to go back, and so you actually have just, you know, merged it. You've just, you know, you committed the merge conflict that it was.
Certainly broken the app.
Yeah, actually, sometimes you do, because of the fact, especially if it's HTML, it's quite lenient. But yeah, if it's something like on CSS, but if it's the PHP code, it's
you're
definitely
asking
doesn't
for
like
a whole
it.
world of pain. How does the hierarchy work with all that? Is there one person that does the final pull, or pulls everything in?
So we do stuff, push it to master once it's all been reviewed and everything, and then the boss just goes. I mean, currently it's a manual process of switching it to a new version. So we deploy a new version. That makes a folder with that version in, and then we just do a symlink switch of what the current version is. Switch it over to the... I did a little sound effect there. Little sound effect to switch it over to the new one, and we also keep the old one around because once if something goes wrong, we can quickly switch it back to the old one. So it's very much a nice workflow. Ideally, you get continuous delivery, which is every time you push to master, it will automatically be deployed, which is quite cool. That's very rapid, because, really you should be confident, especially with your unit tests, especially, with the environments that you use, that pushing code to the user, once you've run it through the test, once you've, made sure it works, you're like, well, okay, this should work live. There shouldn't be a big hoo-ha.
If only we're that easy.
This is the thing, isn't it? And I think that's a changing culture and a changing kind of working philosophy. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
I must admit. Do you when you say you're going live with a new big change or something, you're going to put in a big change? Do you switch the branch then before when you actually go live and make sure everything's fine, and then have the master to go back to? If it goes...
So we normally what you do is you have your pull request with the branch, and then you say, okay, it's good. You merge it into master. You then test master to make sure that's working all right. Run it through Jenkins and stuff, and then you just do the deploy. If anything went wrong, we wouldn't change history in master, so we would actually do a revert in master. The master branch, you'd then say, I'll revert that commit, because you want to keep, you don't want to rebase master, it gets a bit confusing. So then we push it up, and then we do those changes, so you could see in the history that something went wrong. Because that's the beautiful thing about having a version control system as well, is it's a story of the code base. It's metadata of the code base of what's happened, and if something went wrong, it's good to have it in the code base that something went wrong, that we had problems with that, and you can see that we reverted it. So, it's a good kind of... I like that way of doing it.
Yeah, moral of the story is everyone use Git.
Use a version control system, Mercurial or Git. Don't use SVN.
When you said just now about running it through Jenkins, what's Jenkins then?
Jenkins is a continuous integration application software package. It seems like it's this beast that it's a Java-based application, but what it allows you to do is it allows you to have an environment where you're able to, it pulls in a Git repository, it will do the setup for it, it knows how to set it up, it knows how to run the tests, and then it will provide, these deep, like PHP unit and all these testing frameworks and Selenium, they provide return XML results, and Jenkins able to then process these results, send you emails, show what happened and stuff like that. So it gives you, and the idea there is that it allows you, even though you've tested it on your machine locally, it then tests everything, the whole code base, and allows other people to see if that is working.
Okay. So it's quite commonly used, is it? Then it's not something that I'd heard of before.
Oh, it's very, especially. I mean, this is where it goes into the different kinds, isn't it? Because setting up Jenkins just for a web app build, it's like, the pros and cons of it. It's like if you use, do you know what I mean? But if it's for a web application or a bigger project, it's definitely beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
It's that weighing it up, isn't it? Of is it beneficial enough for me to actually have a Jenkins, CI running, continuous framework, server running just for a small web application? But things like, online e-commerce platforms that are, bringing in loads of money, or projects that you're going to know that are lasting a long time, that are going to be around a long time, that you have a lot of tests for, that you want to make sure that work, and that maybe it gets bigger than just you using it. It's very valuable to have these services and these things. I think the nice thing now is you have things like Travis CI, which is an open source free one that it works. You can pay for it to use to be able to pull up or pull down. Private GitHub repos and private repos, but open source repos and repos that are public on GitHub, they'll freely do it for you for free. Freely do it for you for free. That's a lovely saying.
Freely do it for you for a fee.
For a free. And which is awesome. And they actually do all the hard work of, running it and testing it and then returning you with results.
That sounds useful. I may have to investigate.
It is very, very cool.
It's one of those things where unless...
Oh, sorry. You go for it, man.
No, I was going to say it's one of those that unless you've actually heard of it, how would you ever...
Well, it's when you use it. I mean, it's when you need to use it. I mean, I set up Jenkins for the project I was working on from, earlier last year because it started becoming a bigger project. It was a big project from the offset that I knew it was going to be. Well, didn't know it was going to be that big. So you kind of... you kind of know that project's going to need it. It's going to bring other people in. You're going to want to keep, know what's going on, make sure it's, the test suite is passing. And it just gives you that extra safety net, really, of like extra confidence boost. One website you will have to check out is something called emojimask.com. And we all want these. Emojicons. We all have emojicons. We love emojicons. So if you look at these emojimask.com, these are paid for. You can pay for these. These are actual printout masks of emojicons, and the glorious poo.
Why is there a woman sat on the toilet on the homepage?
There's a woman sat on there because that's the poo that you have on the emoticons. Amy, do you want to quickly see this? So check this out. You get you get all these different ones, but you have a mask, the emojicon mask of the poo. It's genius. It's just genius. I mean, it's just genius, and that picture is so wrong.
This is what you do in your spare time, is it?
This is what I do in my spare time, is just sit around with friends with poo masks on.
Brilliant.
So that,
you heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here first, indeed. So that's just a little website. Maybe, they'll ship to England and you can... Oh, dear. Very different.
We will see.
Very, very different.
Cool. Cool.
And finally, one last thing actually is I've just noticed this today. By the time this comes out, it's probably been a couple of weeks. But we in PHP 7, we will be getting return types in PHP. Function and method declarations will now be able to specify what the actual return type is, which is great for documentation. No more PHP docs just to tell it what it's going to return. There was loads of things, loads of different kind of ways, RFCs floating around of what way to do it and stuff. But this one seems to be the one that they've settled on. The proposal's good, looks great, deals with all the problems. We'll be getting return types similar to how Hack does it.
Yeah, cool. I'm just having a little read down the list,
which is very cool. And
I saw one thing that they've in PHP 5.6 how you can pass in an unlimited number of arguments.
Oh, PHP 5, veridatic functions, which is just a nice way of saying, as you say, you can just say ... give me all that. Yeah. That's what's in ES6 as well, which is cool. It's great because functions that func get args is lovely, but again, it's very it's not self-documenting, is it? It feels like a hack. It is. Really. It's just like you have this. It's really strange when you see an empty function. Parameter list, and you're like, hang on, but you look in the code and you're like, oh right, they want to get all of them as it's a a veridatic function. It wants to have as many parameters, arguments as it wants, and so I think it's very cool indeed, and that's really me wrapped up for what I've got to say. I kind of just I've just yabbed on. I'm really sorry about that.
No, it's fine. You've yabbed on about some interesting stuff, so that's good. Far more productive yabbing than I have. So
no, not a chance, sir. So anything you want to leave the lovely audience with? We do have the microphone, and we do have control without Fraser or Mickey here, so we could make up lies of where they currently are at. I mean, Barry Manilow has already probably been, used, I reckon.
Been used, and Simply Ed.
I don't know what else we could say.
No, I think
maybe the truth. They're probably just sleep. They're probably actually in the pit of their own pain.
Do we know where they are or what they're doing?
I have no idea, but I bet
how
they're
are they spending their time.
The pit of their own pain is a lovely saying that I've just made up. To do with their lovely half marathon, almost half marathon.
Almost, not quite. They didn't quite get there.
They couldn't handle a whole full marathon.
So they can't say that they've done a half marathon.
So he's lying on Facebook and Twitter, isn't he? God, Mickey.
Yeah.
Liars.
Such is the measure of the man. So there you go.
Wow. Bush. You do bazinga.
You guys got owned.
Oh, we're so good at trash talking, and Right, anyway, that is
Yes.
me done. Would you like to say goodbye to lovely audience and wrap this one up?
Will do indeed. Thank you very much, folks. It's been a pleasure as always speaking to you, Edward.
Yes, you too, sir. Let's can this episode.
Hopefully we'll get the four of us back on together soon. It's been a
Absolutely.
few weeks.
Hopefully next week we will see.
Yeah, you never know. We will see. Cool. All right, well, have a good week, everyone. Stay safe.
Stay
and avoid the...
Aliens. They're around.
Yeah.
They exist.
They do.
See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to 3 Devs and a Maybe. You can contact us at contact@3devsandamaybe.com or follow us on Twitter at 3 Devs and a Maybe.